Gamers, Branded is back and is back big time. I honestly did not believe that tier was tier 0, at least in ranked ladder format for Master Duel, but now I especially don't believe it. Right now, I think Branded DESPIA, Sprite, tier limits, I think they're all tier 1 decks. The Bestial engine is so good for Branded. It makes it more consistent, it makes it more flexible, it adds more options to the deck. It's really, really cool. Now, if you don't have your Alibur and you don't have your Branded Fusion, that doesn't mean you can't get to your Branded Fusion. You can actually get to your Branded Fusion using your Cartesia to go into Grand Guignol and your Saronir. That's why we're playing 3 Bestial Saronir. I think this is the best Bestial to play in this deck for sure. There's a lot of different branching paths, so this is not going to be like an in-depth guide. I can't really give you that. That's not my kind of content. I don't even have the time to make that kind of video. What I want to give you with this video is the more basic stuff that you need to start playing the deck, like what's the line with the Saronir and the Grand Guignol if you aren't accustomed to playing with those cards, and also just like what do you do with just a Branded Fusion, stuff like that. This deck is really cool. Make sure, I do want to point this out, if you're just the kind of guy that watches the deck list at the start and doesn't wait for the card by card at the end, I'm going to tell you right now, please do not craft Fusion Deployment. You can get it in the Cyberdark Structure deck. It's going to save you a lot of gems, so don't craft it. Don't waste your UR dust on this card. Just get it from the Structure deck. And hey, then you can use the Cyberdark Structure deck in Legend Anthology, and Legend Anthology is going to pay you back the gems you spent on it. So it's basically 3 free copies when you think about it, right? So I have a game, and then I have a replay for you, and we'll do the card by card at the end as always. But before we get into that, make sure to like the video, guys. I need to ask this more often, and I really appreciate all the support. I'd like to get to 15,000 subscribers, so maybe hit the sub button. I want to get there by maybe, I don't know, the end of next month or something like that. But yeah, anyway, let's get into it, guys. All right, guys, so let's try to get some live gameplay. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this deck has a lot of different branching paths, so it's pretty much impossible for me to cover everything in one video. And honestly, I don't even think I'd be able to, even if I tried, because there's just so many options for this deck. So I do recommend, if you guys are more advanced with Bestial, maybe look at a spreadsheet or something like that. But this is more so, my videos in general are usually more for people that just want the tools to start playing a deck. So the basic stuff that they need to learn to be able to play a deck pretty well. So this hand here is pretty much incredible. We have a negate for Max C. We are susceptible to Ash, so we're going to try to smell out an Ash here with the Fusion Deployment, and we might also force out a Max C potentially. So let's see how they feel about it. Most likely they're going to be okay with this. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So we're going to go grab ourselves a Blazing Cartesia. Now, this card is absolutely amazing, and Fusion Deployment is just crazy, honestly. That free summon from the deck is basically emergency teleport for Fusion decks, and Blazing Cartesia is just an amazing card with great artwork, let's be honest. If they don't have the Ash for Branded Fusion, which I'm smelling they do, and I'm going to hate when they do, let's see. Yeah, okay, they had it. They had it. Listen, guys, it's not the end of the world. Yes, ashing Branded Fusion sucks for us. It's tough, but we do have Despian Tragedy in hand, so we'll be able to use Blazing Cartesia here, Fusion into our Grand Guignol, so we're still able to play. So let's go Blazing Cartesia effect, and we're going to make ourselves Grand Guignol. Now, unfortunately, we don't have access to our desired Bestial, which would be a Saronir, I think, or something like that, or Saronir. But we can still play here. We can still play. So basically, thanks to Tragedy, we'll be able to play here. We're going to go Grand Guignol effect to send to the grave a Bestial, and then Tragedy effect to grab ourselves Alibur. So we're going to go get ourselves Alibur. Thankfully, we did not normal summon yet. This is not the best thing ever, but, it's a lot better than nothing. So grab Alibur. The thing is, they already negated Branded Fusion, so it's not like we can get Branded Fusion with Alibur. Here to the grave, we can send the Bestial Saronir. So we're going to send that. Perfect. Saronir effect. And we're going to send to the grave a copy of Branded Retribution. Branded Retribution can grab any branded spell/trap from your graveyard and add it to your hand. So that's really good. Now we're going to normal summon Alibur. And keep in mind, Grand Guignol is actually a really good card because it has the quick effect. If your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon a Dogmatica monster from your deck, or, more importantly for us, a Despia monster from your extra deck. So anyway, here we're going to go Alibur effect. And I think we're just going to grab a Branded in red. Yeah. I think we're just going to grab Branded in red here. I mean, all our other options are just kind of mid. I think we're going to stick to Branded in red because it applies to more matchups in general. But I do kind of like that trap, though. So here, we might as well just set it because we're definitely not activating it this turn. There's really no reason to, in my opinion, since we don't have access to Albaz or anything like that. And Branded Retribution might as well stay in the graveyard as well for now. So yeah, we're just gonna pass on this. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot better than what like Branded could do before if they got interrupted. Like this is actually quite a bit of interaction that we have here, especially since we have some hand traps on top of it. The Branded in red obviously is gonna get us some draws and a pop. Okay, so they're on tier limits here. Well, no questions asked. We're just gonna go for Max C right now. We might as well. There's no reason not to. Seems like we're okay for the Max C. And yeah, we might as well hold on to our Branded in red. Now, oh man, if I knew it was tier, I would have much rather had that trap handy. Do I want to use my Ash on the Rhoda? I mean, no. If they're going to grab a Rhino Heart, we might as well Ash the Rhino Heart, I would say. Although we won't even be able to because of the Scream, so debatable, honestly. I mean, we might as well just wait and Ash the kit and just hope that they don't mill anything. Let's see what we got here. These are the mills. Oh man, they got a Kelbeck. Oh, we're fucked. Leaving Kelbeck at 2 might have been a bad idea. Anyway, so they got Kelbeck, they got Havness. It is what it is. We're gonna let it go through. They had the Ash. This is the one thing about Despia, even now, is like oftentimes you'll get your Branded Fusion ashed and it does like hurt your plays very significantly. Oh my god, we got kind of lucky. Their mills were really bad. I'm not gonna do this because I'm gonna Ash the kit. They have no tier monster in the graveyard right now, so I mean they most likely have a tier monster in hand, most likely, but you know, no tiers in grave is good for us. They might not have a target for kit if we're lucky. So let's see. Oh, they went straight to battle phase here. Nah, I don't see why I would do that. We're gonna go Branded in red here. Yeah, we're gonna grab the oh, we could even go like Fallen of Albaz. That's not even bad, honestly. If we grab Fallen of Albaz, yeah, honestly, we can take that to our advantage here. Their millers might have actually helped us. We can grab Fallen of Albaz. We can special summon. We could just like straight up make Mirror Jade. Then they get to redeclare, and we can just banish the kit. Yeah, so let's use our Grand Guignol and our Fallen of Albaz. Yeah, I think Mirror Jade could come in really clutch here. Yeah, so we'll just use its effect. Send to the grave, of course, a copy of Albion. And here we go. Man, that really saved us. Actually, their millers saved us because they milled an Albaz, which completely saved our game state here. Just the fact that we could grab an Albaz here. They're just going to beat over the Aliber. I couldn't care less about that, honestly. Yeah, we got really lucky. Their mills were not amazing. They were actually pretty bad. Yeah, we just won there. We just won. Look, man, are they better than tiers? Maybe. Like, what was that? Honestly, I think the Shufflers to 1 made a huge difference. Kelbeck to 2, yeah, that sucks. Like, they can still mill. But here in this scenario, for example, like, they actually opened up my graveyard, and Branded in red was even stronger because now I could grab Albaz, get into Mirror Jade, and actually get rid of the Kit Kalos completely. I have a really good replay now to show you. I want to show you the line, basically, if you don't have Branded Fusion, how you can get to Branded Fusion without Aliber, using Cartesia as well as the Bestials. Alright guys, so this replay I think is a really good showcase. It's actually a mirror match that I had in ladder in Diamond 2. But it's just, I think it's a perfect showcase, honestly, of just this one combo that I really need to show you guys. This is super integral to playing the Bestials in Branded. You absolutely need to learn this combo to be able to play this engine well. And it's honestly pretty simple. So look at this hand, right? Like, okay, they passed on this, so yes, we're going second, and they passed on basically nothing, but that's not really the point here. The point here is more so the combo I'm going to be doing with the hand that I have. Because as you can see here, we don't really have access to Aliber or any real way of getting to our Branded Fusion. But we can use the Bestials as well as Fusion Deployment to get into our Branded Fusion. So here we go, Bestial Lubellion effect. We can discard it in order to search the Bestial Saronir, or yeah, Saronir. And Saronir is pretty much the most important Bestial, I would say, for this deck. I actually like this Bestial a lot more than Magnamut, so I'm glad that this one is not limited. Anyway, so here we're going to go Fusion Deployment. By the way, guys, don't craft Fusion Deployment. You can grab it in the Cyber Dark structure deck, so you're going to save a lot of gems if you don't craft it, and just go get it from the structure deck. Get 3 of the structure deck, 1500 gems. Sure, it might seem like a lot because it's like 500 gems per copy, but honestly, after testing with this card, like, I wouldn't want to play the deck without fusion deployment. It's basically emergency teleport for your second engine with the Cartesia, so it's absolutely a must play. So yeah, we reveal our Grand Guignol, we can summon Blazing Cartesia, and then we can use our Cartesia's effect to fusion summon into Grand Guignol using Cartesia as well as our Bestial Saronir. So basically, because of that, Saronir is sent to the graveyard, and that's going to trigger both the effect of Grand Guignol on summon and Saronir's effect in the grave. So basically, with Saronir here, you can send any branded spell/trap that you want from your deck to the graveyard, and then with the Grand Guignol, you're going to send to the graveyard a Albion, the Shrouded, I think. Basically, the Albion Dragon that's in the main deck. And that card is going to send to the grave from your hand or deck your branded Retribution, which you can then banish from your grave to grab any branded spell/trap that you want from your deck. So with this little engine here, you can search any branded spell/trap, which is really amazing. So here we go. Chainlink 2. First, Saronir. I'm going to send the branded Fusion because that's the one I want. Then with Dust Dragon... with Grand Guignol, we send the Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. So Albion, Shrouded Dragon, I'm going to use its effect. In this case, the Retribution was in my hand, which is actually really nice because that means we get to summon the Albion instead of shuffling it back into the deck. But even if we didn't get to do this, we would still pretty much be on the same board. It doesn't make a huge difference, but the extra body is nice to have, especially since you can actually tribute it to summon out your copy of Bestial Lubellion. So anyway, at this point, I'm going to tribute over it to summon out the Bestial Lubellion so that I can set up a Branded Lost. So it's going to activate Branded Lost from my deck here. Then we're going to go Graveyard Effect of Branded Retribution to grab a Branded Fusion. We're going to use our Branded Fusion and send to the graveyard our Blazing Cartesia as well as our Fallen of Albaz. Normally, I would send the... you want to make Albion in this deck when you use your Branded Fusion. And normally, I would actually send the Bestial Lubellion as well as the Albaz, but in this case, we already had our Lubellion. We already did what we had to do with it. So I decided to send a Cartesia, and, you know, because, like, later down the line, you can just, like, grab it back anyway, so might as well have it in the grave. So anyway, we send those two. We go Albion Effect, and we're going to go Branded Lost, Chainlink 2. I probably should have done it the opposite order, actually, to Chain Block, since they can't respond to the effects of fusioning. But anyway, we're going to banish 2 from our grave here, banish the Albaz as well as the Saronir to go into our Lubellion. So yeah, you want to go into Lubellion here. The reason for this is because I want to go for game. So I go Lubellion, discard Ad Libitum to make myself a Mirror Jade, the Iceblade Dragon. And it turns out my opponent's set card was Super Poly. Keep in mind, at this point in the game, I had no idea what my opponent was even playing, but it seems like they were just kind of bricked up playing the same deck as me. But it's all good. So they're going to go Super Poly. We lose 2 monsters. They make themselves a Dragos Tapelia. Naturally, at this point, I decide not to attack. So we do get our trigger of Mirror Jade in the graveyard here. So at the end phase, all their monsters are going to be destroyed. Now, in my main phase 2, I decided to special summon Kit. I don't really know why I did this, because then they just negate it with the Dragos Tapelia anyway. So there was really no reason to summon Kit here. I could have probably just kept it in hand for later. I guess you could call that a misplay. Anyway, in end phase, we get to add back Cartesia. They're going to go Bestial Saronir, and they're going to banish my Albion, actually, from my grave so that I don't get a search with it. So they banish the Albion. Then with Cartesia, I'm going to add it to my hand. Then I get to trigger my Grand Guignol because they special summoned a monster. And I'm going to make myself a Proskenion. The reason I decided to go for Proskenion is because on my opponent's turn, I'll be able to add, well, special summon their Dragos Tapelia from their grave to my field so that I get an interruption. Because as you can see right now, I don't have a lot of interruptions. I have a pretty good hand, but more so for follow-up. The Bestial in hand is really, really useful as an interruption in this mirror match, but it's not like the best thing in the world. So I definitely wanted to just have access to another interruption. Here they're going to send their own branded Retribution to the grave. The only thing they can grab with it is branded in red, so not the end of the world. Here they're going to go for evenly match in the battle phase. The card I decided to keep is Proskenion. It was an easy choice because I just figured, well, I'm going to build advantage here anyway because I can just grab their Dragos Tapelia after their battle phase, right? So main phase 2, they go for Spriggan's Kit effect. Then they're going to trigger their Retribution in the grave to add the branded in red, which I was kind of surprised by because at this point they don't have a Despia monster in the grave or an Albaz. So I was a little bit confused, but I was like, okay, you got it, you got it. So what I thought actually is that they were just adding it to hand so that they could shuffle it back into the deck. So I did kind of make a miscalculation here. I thought they were just getting it back to add it back into the deck so that they could grab their branded Fusion. But either way, when they go branded Fusion, I decided to go Proskenion to grab their Dragos Tapelia from the graveyard so that it can negate whatever they summon. So here they go. They send the Lubellion. They summon their Albion. So of course I want to negate the Albion here. So they're going to go Albion effect. I'm going to negate it with the Dragostapelia. And here on resolution, I instantly decide, okay, we're banishing the Lubellion. This was a bit of a mistake. So as you can see here, I go Druid's Worm to banish the Lubellion. I don't think this was a really good idea because I just didn't think they kept the branded in red, but I should have probably taken in consideration that they might have kept it, and I should have probably just waited for branded in red because Lubellion getting summoned and just putting the Albion in the grave. Sure, Albion gets a search at the end phase, and that's really good, but I mean, right now in this game state, it's probably more problematic for my opponent to go with the branded in red. It is what it is, though, so they go branded in red here. They add the Fallen of Albaz to the hand, and they get to fusion into their copy of Mirajade. So here, they're going to go Mirajade effect, and they're going to banish my Proskenyon, which makes sense. Thankfully, they were in main phase 2 at this point, so it's not like they get to do much else. They just pass turn, and they cannot banish anymore for this turn. They get to search with their Alba a copy of Branded Fusion. We draw into Branded Fusion, which is just very lucky. Here I'm going to special the Blazing Cartesia. I'm going to go Branded Fusion, sending Albaz as well as Tragedy to the grave, making myself a Lubellion. And I mean, at this point, it's pretty much checkmate because we just need to clear their field and attack for game, which is not exactly hard in this deck, as long as we just fusion away our Lubellion, since this card can't attack when it uses its effect. So yeah, we fusion it away, make ourselves a Mirajade, and at this point my opponent is basically like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy's just going to attack for game anyway, and they just scoop it up. But I do think this was a really, really good duel, and a good showcase of why the Bestial engine is so good for Despia. And actually, I also think it makes the deck just a lot more fun and interesting, because now your deck is a lot less flow charty. Like, there's still a chart, but it's almost more like a Venn diagram now. Like, it's a really interesting strategy at this point, and I really, really like it. So hopefully that replay, as well as the game I played, was at least a decent showcase of like what the deck does now. It's very important to just get used to those bestial lines. Keep in mind, Saronir plus your Blazing Cartesia going into your Grand Guignol is a branded fusion technically. So if you have a way to get to Saronir and your Grand Guignol, you should be set to do your full combo. Anyway, let's go do the card by card. All right, so as you guys saw, the deck is really, really strong. I think this deck is awesome. So if you guys wanted to play this, I know it's really, really expensive. So, you know, that's kind of sad. I mean, branded players, they basically keep this game going. It's definitely not a free-to-play deck. And I would even say, like, this version teeters on budget, because I've seen some versions that are even more expensive than mine, but I wasn't willing to go that far. But yeah, I mean, honestly, this deck is just absolutely amazing. So let's go through the card by card here. We've got 1 copy of Tragedy, 3 copies of Maxi, naturally, best card in the game, 3 Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Fallen of Albaz. You can play 3 if you want. Some people do that. 2 copies of Alibur, 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Mercourier. We've got the 1 Spriggan's Kit. Very useful because you can actually search it off of the banish effect of Mercourier, so very nice to have. We have 2 copies of Blazing Cartesia, the Virtuous. This card is amazing, and you summon it off of Fusion Deployment, which is even better. Then we also have a copy of Magnamut, of course, 3 copies of Saronir, which I think this is by far the best bestial for this deck. I mean, it literally has a Foolish Burial for branded spells and traps, so that's just amazing for our deck. 1 copy of Druid's Worm, 1 copy of Albion the Shrouded Dragon. Absolutely must play this card in the deck to get the nice combos with the Grand Guignol. We've got 1 copy of Ad Libitum of Despia, because it's kind of a must play in this deck. 2 copies of Bestial Lubellion, 3 copies of Fusion Deployment, 3 copies of Branded Fusion, obviously. 1 copy of Branded Lost. This card is broken, and you can just set it up for free off of Bestial Lubellion, so absolutely need Branded Lost in this deck. 3 copies of Super Polymerization, 2 copies of Called by the Grave, 1 copy of Crossout Designator, 2 copies of Branded Opening, 1 branded in red. We've got our Branded Banishment and our Branded Retribution. I'm not running it, but if you guys want to be cheeky, feel free to just throw this in, put the Expulsion, and you should be having a great time with that. For the extra deck, we have 1 copy of Mud Dragon of the Swamp, 1 copy of Garura. This is the new and best target for your Super Polymerization. 2 monsters with the same type and attribute but different names. Absolutely busted cards, seriously. 1 copy of Predaplant Dragostapelia. We've got Sprind, 2 copies of Albion, 1 copy of Despian Quiritis, 1 copy of Masquerade, 2 copies of Mirajade, 1 Lubellion, 1 copy of Grand Guignol, 1 copy of Rimbrum. Very cool card. I love this card. When it comes up, it's really sick. 1 copy of Guardian Chimera, and finally the Despian Proskenyon, which you guys saw is actually really, really good in this deck and absolutely worth playing. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you guys for checking out the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. A huge shout out to my Ultimate Conductor tier members. That'll be Bongerman for 20, Dad Do Joey, Hudaman Me, Rytos, B-Dubs, Hit or Miss JT, JQ the King. You guys are awesome. Also, huge shout out to Coots McG, who today on my stream like donated like 76 baby tier memberships. If you guys want to support the channel in a way that's cheap, I mean, the baby tier membership is literally $3 a month. So, you know, if you want to support the channel, you know, it's like, it's not a lot of money. You know, it's up to you. Obviously, I'm not trying to pressure nobody. I'm not trying to pressure. I'm just saying, if you'd like to support, it's a cheap option to support. Appreciate it. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. I got to stop talking and get some sleep. So, peace.